Gilded Ones, Chapter 2. I spend the remainder of morning preparing for the ritual of purity, pressing clothes for Father and me and polishing our shoes. I even made a garland of dried flowers for my hair. Their bright red color will contrast nicely with the ceremonial blue of my dress. I'll be going to village feast immediately following the ritual, and I must look my best. This is the first time I've ever been invited to a feast, or any other village celebration for that matter. To calm my nerves, I concentrate on the gooseberry tarts I'm taking to the feast. I try to make each one as perfect as possible. Edges neatly folded, dollops of whipped cream just so, but it's difficult to do so without a knife. Girls aren't allowed to be near sharp things from the moment they turn 15 until the day they're proven by the ritual of purity. The infinite wisdoms forbade it, ensuring that we do not bleed a drop before the ritual. Girls who injure themselves before their 15th year are taken to the temple for cleansing, their families ostracized, their marriages' prospects destroyed. Despised are the marked or scarred, the wounded and bleeding girls, for they have polluted the temple of the infinite Father. These words have been drummed into my head from birth. If Father had more money, he would have sent me to a house of purity to spend the entire year before the ritual, protected from sharp things in its soft, pillowed halls. But only rich girls like Agda can afford the houses of purity. The rest of us have to make do by avoiding knives. I'm so deep in thought, I don't notice Father's footsteps approaching. "Decca?" he calls. I turn to find him shifting nervously behind me, a box clutched in his hands. He opens it with a hesitant smile. "This is for you," he says, offering me the embroidered dress inside. I gasp. Tears blurring my eyes. Is dyed the deep blue of the ritual and has tiny golden suns embroidered on the hem. But that's not the most exciting thing. Peeking out underneath is a delicate blue half mask with white silk ribbons to tie it on. It's finer than anything I've ever seen. The craftsmanship light and elegant despite its wooden base. "How?" I breathe, gathering it to my chest. "We don't have the money to spare for new clothes, much less masks. I altered one of Mother's old dresses for the ritual." "Your mother made them for you as a secret last year," he answers, pulling something else from inside the box. "Mother's favorite necklace," I whisper, a happy sob bursting from my throat when I take it to my chin. "Mother's favorite necklace," I whisper, a happy sob bursting from my throat when I take the thin, finely crafted gold chain and delicate gold sphere hanging from it. That old, familiar symbol emblazoned across it. It almost looks like the kuru, the sacred symbol of the sun. But there's more to it, another marking so worn I've never been able to make it out, not even after all these years. Mother used to wear the necklace every day without fail. To think she had all this ready for me so long ago. My chest feels tight now and I rub it, trying to soothe away my tears. I miss her so much. I miss her voice, her smell, the way she always used to smile whenever she saw me. I wipe my eyes as I turn to Father. "She made sure I kept it for you," Father says. Then he clears his throat, color rising from his cheeks as he pulls one last thing from the box. A garland of fresh flowers. They're bright red, shimmering in the light. The flowers, however, are from me. The merchant told me they were long-lasting. They're beautiful. I cry, feeling overwhelmed as I looked over to him. This is the first time I've received so many gifts. Everything is beautiful. My deepest thanks, Father. Father awkwardly pats my back. "Ready yourself. Quickly now. Today, you'll show them you belong." "Yes, Father." I hurry to do as he says, determination fermenting inside of me. I will show them. I will wear my new dress and flowers, and then, once the ritual is ended, I'll wear my new mask to match. I'll wear it so proudly even Agda won't be able to deny me. I grin at the thought. It's late afternoon when we reach the temple. The village is packed by then, well-wishers and curious onlookers jostling for space. Girls in their ceremonial blue lined up in front of the temple steps, their parents on either side of them. Father takes his place beside me just as the drums sound, and we watch as the Jatu march solemnly towards the steps in preparation for Elder Durka's arrival. Their red armor a gleaming counterpart to the sea of deep blue dresses, their gnarled war mask glowering in the dull afternoon light. Each mask resembles a terrifying demon face and can be attached and removed from the helmet with ease. Since the doors haven't opened yet, I take in the temple's stark white walls, its red roof. Red is the color of sanctity. It's the color pure girls will bleed when the Elder Durkas test them today. Please let mine be red. Please let mine be red, I pray. I spot Elfriede at the door, her entire body rigid. She must be thinking the same thing. Like all other girls, she stands with her face revealed one last time, although she hunches slightly to hide a birthmark. The temple doors creak open, and the crowd hushes. Elder Durka appears at the top of the stairs, his usual pitched, disapproving look on his face. As with most priests of Oyomo, his mission is to root out impurity and abomination. That's why his body is so thin and his eyes are so intense. Religious fervor leaves the room for eating and anything else. A golden tattoo of the Kuru, the symbol of the sun, gleams in the middle of his clean-shaven head. He extends his hand over the crowd. "The Infinite Father blesses you," he intones. "The Infinite Father blesses us all," the crowd replies. Elder Durka raises his ceremonial blade to the sky. It's carved from ivory and sharper than most finely honed sword. And upon the fourth day, he recites in the deep, booming voice he likes to use for these occasions. He created woman, a helpmeet to lift man from his sacred potential, his divine glory. Woman is the Infinite Father's greatest gift to mankind, solace for his darkest hour, comfort in. "Ever has your mind been inclined to wander, Deka?" he whispers, voice so low that the others won't notice we're talking. He is so very much like your mother. When his lips turn down in sadness, I frown at him. "You'll develop lines," I say. Now he smiles, suddenly looking like a hearty man he used to be, before the red pox and mother's death conspired to shrink him to a shadow of himself. A bit like the river condemning the stream for rushing too fast, don't you think? He jokes as the lines begin to move. I nod and return my attention to the temple steps. Elder Durka has finished his recitation. The ritual of purity will now begin. Agda is the first girl to walk into the temple, and her face is pale with nervousness. Will Oyomo favor her or judge that she has succumbed to impurity? The crowd leans forward, tense. The chattering, the whispered conversations, all fade to a hush, until soon the only things you can hear are the disgruntled yips of the dogs and the huffed breaths of the horses tethered to the nearby stables. Moments later, a startled cry erupts from inside the temple. Agda emerges soon after, her blue scarf clutched across her chest, where Elder Durkas cut her with the ceremonial blade. Once she arrives at the top of the stairs, she pulls off the scarf and holds it above her head to display the red blood is saturated with. A relieved cheer swells through the crowd. She's pure. Her parents rush to embrace her, and her father proudly fixes a delicate gold half mask in the shape of a budding moon on her face to declare her newfound womanhood. She casts a victorious glance across the crowd, her lips curling into a smirk when she glimpses at me. Once she walks back down the stairs, the next girl enters the ritual of purity. I train my eyes on the door, the sight of it. Large, red, and imposing. It frays my nerves, causing my stomach to clench, my palms to moisten. The tingling strengthens, a low hum now. Fine hairs lifting, awareness rising. Something is coming. The thought filters through my mind yet again. It means nothing, I remind myself firmly. I've felt such things many times before, never once seen anything strange. Terror slams through me so suddenly and heavily my knees buckle. I grasp my father's hand to remain standing. He frowns at me. "Deka, you all right?" I don't reply. Fear has frozen my lips, and all I can do is watch in horror as sinister tendrils of mist snakes around my father's feet. More of it is slithering into the square, chilling the air. Above us, the sun flees, chased away by the clouds now rolling across the sky. Father frowns up at it. The sun is gone. But I'm no longer looking at the sky. My eyes are on the edge of the village, where the winter-stripped trees crackle under the weight of ice and snow. The mist is coming from there, heavy with its sharp, cold smell and something else, a distant, high-pitched sound that jitters my nerves. When the sound shatters into an ear-piercing shriek, the entire crowd stirs, petrified statues in the snow. One word whispers across the square. Death shrieks. Just like that, the lull is broken. Death shrieks! The Jatu commander calls, unsheathing his sword, "Arm yourselves!" The crowd scatters, the men racing toward the stables for their weapons, women herding their daughters and sons back to their home. The Jatu plow past the crowds, heading toward the forest, where colossal gray forms are appearing, inhumane shrieks heralding their approach. The large death shriek is the first to step foot over the leafy border, making the edge of the forest. A hulking beast of a creature, its raw bone to the point of gauntness, its clawed hands dragging almost to its knees, spikes erupting all the way down its bony spine. It seems almost human. Black eyes blinking, slitted nostrils flaring as it surveys the village. It turns to the village square where I'm still standing, terror-struck, and my breath shallows. Short, fast spurts of air now. It opens its mouth. Inhales. A shriek blasts through my skull. White hot agony slicing into my body. My teeth grind together. My muscles lock into place. Beside me, Father collapses to the ground as blood begins to pour from his ears and nostrils. More villagers are already writhing there, faces contorted into grimacings of terror and anguish. Other than me, only the Jatu remain standing in the square. Their helmets specifically soundproofed against death shriek screams. Even so, their eyes flash white behind their war masks, and their hands tremble on their swords. The Jatu here are mostly recruits, newly initiated into the ranks. Just as Elfried said, they haven't yet fought at the borders of the South, where the death shrieks lay constant siege. Haven't even seen a death shriek before, probably. It'll be a miracle if any of them survive this. It'll be a miracle if any of us survive this. The thought jolts me from my paralysis, and I whirl to Father. "We must flee," I shout, pulling him so hard he nearly jerks off the ground. Fear has powered my muscles, made them unnaturally strong. We must go. I glance at the lead death shriek again, its hair lashing fitfully around it, as if it senses me watching. It turns, and its eyes connect to mine from across the distance. There's a look into them, an intelligence. The breath rips from my lungs. Every muscle in my body suddenly feels weak again, frozen under the predatory black gaze. By the time I find the sense to cower, it's already stalking onward, as are the others. The many, many others. They're emerging from the mist, leathery gray forms bristling with menace. Some lope to the grounds from the trees, claws scouring the snow as they run on all fours. "Defend the village," the Jatu commander roars, lifting his sword. "For the Infinite Father! For the Infinite Father," the Jatu repeat, running toward the beast. A horrified gasp bursts from my chest as Father staggers up and echoes the call along with the other village men who are now hurriedly wrapping kerchiefs or belts around their ears. "Run to the temple, Decca," he shouts at me. Ahead of him, the Jatu commander is bearing down on the lead death shriek, but the creature doesn't retreat. Instead, it stills, cocking its head. For a moment, amusement seems to glitter in his eyes. Deadly amusement. Then it moves, violently backhanding the Jatu across the square. His body cracks on impact, spewing blood everywhere. A signal for other death shrieks to attack. They race into the village, smashing through the Jatu shields, disemboweling them with fatally sharp claws. Screams echo, blood sprays, and the odor of urine arises. The Jatu try to fight back, but there are too few of them, and they are too inexperienced against the death shriek's monstrosity. I watch, horror choking me, as limbs and bodies are severed with inhuman abandon, heads ripped off with furious glee. Within minutes, The entire Jatu force is overwhelmed, and then it's on to the village man. Don't let them get past, Elder Olam roars, but it's already too late. The death streaks are plowing through the villages, some leaping onto their victims, others slicing them with their claws and teeth. The more the village men scream, the more frenzied the death streaks become. Blood splatters the ground, startling crimson across the whiter snow. Corpses lie in the tangle of viscera and dried leaves. It's a massacre. Terror knifing my heart, I turn to my father. He and 2 other villagers are engaged in combat with the death shriek, pushing the creature back with swords and pitchforks. He doesn't see the other death shriek racing towards him, bloodlust in his eyes. He doesn't see its claws unsheathing, reaching for him. No! The desperate cry erupts from my chest before I can quiet it. So powerful it seems as if it's layered with something else, something deeper. Stop! Please! Leave my father alone! Please, just leave us alone! The death shriek whirls towards me, eyes deep black with rage. Time seems suspended as their leader moves forward. Closer, then closer still, until, "Stop!" I shout, my voice even more powerful than before. The death shriek abruptly stiffens, life draining from its eyes. For a moment, it almost seems like a husk, an empty vessel rather than a living being. The other death shrieks are the same, frozen statues in the late afternoon light. Silence descends on the village. My heart pounds in my ears, louder, louder, then movement. The lead death shriek turns and staggers toward the forest, the others following behind it. The mist swiftly withdraws behind them, almost seeming to trail in their footsteps. In less than a minute, they're gone. I'm drunk with relief, floating, as if I'm only barely connected to my skin. A hazy feeling is taking over now, making my entire body feel as light as a thistledown. I glide toward Father, a glazed smile on my face. He's still standing where he was, but he doesn't seem as relieved as I do. His face is pale, his body slick with sweat. He almost looks terrified. "Father?" I ask, reaching for him. To my surprise, he recoils. "Foul demon," he shouts. "What have you done to my daughter?" "Father?" I repeat. I take another step towards him, confused, when he once more recoils. "Don't you dare call me that beast," he hisses. The men have gathered around him now. The women have begun to spill out their houses, Elfried among them. There's an expression on her face, one I haven't seen there before. Fear. "Your eyes, Decca. What happened to your eyes?" she whispers, horrified. Her words melt in a bit of haze around me. My eyes? I turn to Father, about to ask what the men are saying, but he nods to something behind me. When I look, there's Ionis, a sword gleaming in his hand. I frown at him, confused. He has come to protect me as I did earlier today? "Ionis?" I ask. He thrusts his sword in my stomach. The pain is so sharp, so exquisite. I barely notice the blood spilling from my hand. It's red, so very red, at first. But then the color begins to change, to glimmer. Within moments, the red has turned to gold, the very same gold now racing across my skin. Shadows cloud my vision as the blood in my veins slow to a trickle. The only thing that remains moving is the gold, pouring into my hands like a river, slowly gliding over my skin. As I always suspected, a faraway voice said, "When I look up, Elder Durkis is looming over me." His expression is dark with satisfaction. "She's impure," he declares. That's the last thing I hear before I die.